Hey, welcome back to Taboretum. After nearly 10 years of printing with Bowden setup, I'm finally making the switch to direct drive. And there's a good reason for that. I've always struggled with flexible filaments like TPU on my Ender, and it's time for something better. So today I'm installing the MicroSwiss NG Revo direct drive extruder. It comes with E3D Revo hotend, which means nozzle swaps are super easy. No heating, no tools, no bad calibration. MicroSwiss sent me this unit for testing. Thank you, MicroSwiss. And I will walk you through the install and see if this upgrade finally solves my filament headaches. Let's jump in. We are on MicroSwiss webpage and we will have a quick look at our NG Revo direct drive extruder. It fits Ender5, 5 Plus and 5 Pro. In my case, it's Ender5 Pro. What's in the box, we'll have a look just in a second when we will do the unboxing. The installation is described in the PDF file that, as usual, I'm not gonna follow to the letter, but I will use it as a guide, and it's really a good one, a decent one. We also have the printables website where we can download files if needed. So, for example, if we want to reprint the fan shroud in a different color or for different fan or whatever, we have files to do that. Let's see what's in the box. We have a link to our PDF file with instructions, butt splice connectors to connect our wires. I'm not gonna use them, but they are easy to use, plus some other hardware stuff. The couplers for the Bowden tube, printed parts, the mount for our Bowden guide that we put in the place of original extruder motor, extension cable for the extruder motor, bolts and nuts to connect roller to the plate, and this strange one is the eccentric one that allows us to tighten the carriage. Then the mounts for BL Touch and for the end stop for the Ender Plus version if needed. Some zip ties. And finally the pre-assembled thing, the whole extruder with the plate, the fan shroud, and so on and so forth. So let me get it out. Yeah, so you can see it's not heavy. The aluminum core of it, you can see the nozzle, the 3D printed fan shroud, place for the fan exhaust. Here goes the cooling fan. These wires, these connectors are hard to buy, so I will be actually cutting them off and soldering the thing using the soldering pipes. I will show them later. The extruder motor, this is a flat one, and you can see the whole plate, the back plate, and the nozzle. And I should be able to turn it to unscrew it with my hand, yeah, and it moves. That's the super cool feature of the whole thing, that you can replace the nozzle without actually using any tools and without the need to recalibrate. That's the second biggest advantage for me, right after the direct drive itself, that will allow me use the flexible filaments. Okay, so let's start with the actual assembly, and we will first unscrew the screws holding the fan shroud and detach it to have access to all the inside elements. Now it's time to disassemble the old extruder. First I need to cut the zip ties to make my Bowden loose. And actually I never removed the filament, so I will need to loosen it at the extruder end, because this is the only end that I can move it. Now I take off the fans and remove the shroud, move the cover, yeah, and I will not be able to take out the Bowden on this end, so first I need to do the extruder end, move the filament a bit. Yeah, and now I have the freedom to actually take this one out. Yeah, at the hotend end. Now I can cut the filament so it won't get in the way. I can remove the whole thing. Next step is to detach the BL touch sensor. So I will first unscrew the holder, and then I will unscrew the BL touch sensor from the holder and then detach it from the cable, so I will not have it in the way. And it is a fragile small thing, so you need to be careful doing that if you do have BL touch sensor at all. Now we move fans away, take the appropriate Allen key and unscrew the old hotend block. And once it is off, we also should be able to take off the back plate of the Minimus. And if you are still using the classic setup on your Ender, I recommend Minimus. It's very convenient to use, that you can with one hand take off the whole fan shroud. We'll move it away for the time being. We'll remove the back plate, and now we can start disassembling the carriage. We need to loosen belts with these two screws. When the belt is loose, we will be able to remove it. Remove the belt ends from the carriage. There are slots that they go into. Yeah, the left one is done, and now the right one. And now what we do, we will unscrew rollers and just take the whole carriage out of the extrusion. You need the Allen key and the wrench, probably 10 millimeters as far as I remember at the back, or 8. Yeah, and it's off, and now we need to disassemble it fully to be able to use the rollers with our new carriage. I will also clean these rollers a bit, because after many years of use they are not super clean for sure. The bottom one is the eccentric nut, and the top ones are the regular ones. And let's fast forward, as this is not super interesting process of unscrewing 4 bolts. Yeah, as said, I'm cleaning them up. And now it's time to start assembling it back. The eccentric nut goes at the very bottom, and we will use it to tighten the whole carriage by rotating it. And thanks to this eccentricity, we can regulate how tight the whole carriage is on our extrusion. And again, you need the Allen key and the wrench to correctly tighten that. And having the bottom one attached, we place it at our extrusion and start installing the upper ones, the fixed ones, using the Allen key. This time we don't need the wrench, because there is thread in the backplate of the extruder itself. Let's fast forward a bit again. I'm just tightening everything up by moving the table down. And now we are gonna use the eccentric nut to adjust the tension so it is smooth, snug, and doesn't wobble at all. Yeah, a bit too loose, probably tightening a bit. And once it is properly set, we need to use the Allen key to actually lock it in place so it will not turn later on. Now we reattach the belt ends in these slots. We start with the right end. Now we need to put the other end at the other slot. And once it is there, we can retighten the belt using the tensioner on the left hand side. Yeah, it is moving. And usually I use some kind of a bolt, in this case probably a screwdriver, yeah, to actually pre-tighten it, to use some lever, and then we tighten bolts, and we need to use the right size of the Allen key. This bluish one, I don't know what color is that. It is pretty important to have all the belts properly tightened. The tension is important here. So yeah, and we need to secure it so they don't loosen over time. And yeah, it's done. If you move your print head by hand, remember that you are actually generating some currents in the motor. So be careful not to move too quick, and in general rather avoid this option. Now against the instructions, I'm gonna attach the two fans to the fan shroud, because the instruction manual suggests to do it at the very end, and it's probably a very good suggestion, but due to unknown reason I decided to do it right now. So I did, and then I got less freedom in moving around with the wiring, but it is, you always learn. You never stop learning. Again, let's do some fast forward. We are attaching fans. Each fan is 4 screws, and then the fan shroud is attached with 2 screws to the extruder itself. And now the scary part. We are gonna cut off the old hot ends. There are 4 wires, the heater and the thermistor, and I cut all 4 at once. I measured what's the length needed, and actually I will cut off also the plugs and the sockets on the hot end, on the new hot end from E3D. Basically because I couldn't buy the right connectors, and I wanted to make it as smooth as possible. That's why I'm not going to use the butt splice connectors provided by MicroSwiss, but I will struggle and use shrinkable auto soldering connectors. I don't know exactly what the name is, but here is how they look like. And the thing is, you just put the wires inside, hit it, hopefully, well, you should use the hot air, but I don't have hot air, so I'm gonna use the mini blowtorch. This method gives you a very strong waterproof connection. It's a bit messy with the blowtorch, but I will consider buying a small hot air gun. And it took some time, but I wanted to have a really slim connection. Plus remember that neither heater nor the thermistor has polarity, so it doesn't matter which cable is which, so you can mix them as you please. So let's fast forward a bit. In total we had 4 cables to connect, a pair for heater and the second pair for thermistor. And last thing was the extension cable for the extruder motor that I managed to get through my cable sleeve, and it's moving, so it's alive. Now it's time to remove the old extruder, and as you can see, this is not the stock one. It is dual gear, dual drive geared extruder. Don't remember, I think BMC clone or something like that. And I liked it a lot. And it is mounted at the top of the frame to make the Bowden shorter. So I will keep this arm, this green arm there, and I will attach the Bowden guide that the filament will go through over there. However, down the road I plan to mount the spool above the printer. I will probably use the shelf that I have above the printer, just to avoid having a long Bowden tube as a guide for the filament, right? Especially if you use very soft flex filaments, they tend to have some tensions inside the Bowden tube, right? Because they are soft also on the surface. Let's fast forward a bit, as this is not a super interesting part. And now time for the Bowden tube. And I know it sounds stupid because we are getting away from Bowden setup to direct drive, but basically Bowden was the name of the guy who invented the pushing some material through a tube. So it is a direct drive, but a bit of the pipe is going to be used. And I will quickly show you also the final setup when the tube is like 5 centimeters or so. So once we have these attached, we will use some. I will use some zip ties to connect the cable sleeve, wire sleeve with the tube, PTFE tube, and then we will be done with the hardware part, and we will need to play a bit with the firmware. Cutting off excessive zip ties to make it clean, and final test if the whole thing moves smoothly in the whole range from one corner to the other. Now time to change 3 parameters in printer config. I'm using Clipper, so I can edit it, no flashing. Rotation distance or E-steps for extruder is what I'm gonna change here. And it's almost identical because my previous extruder was also geared one with 3:1 gear ratio. The second thing that you should change is actually the sensor type, and I already changed it here, so I will just make a note that this is a sensor that comes with MicroSwiss NG. And the third thing to change is the Z offset of your BL Touch probe, if you have one, because the mount is different, right? So it can differ a bit. As we have the new heater and new thermistor, we run the PID calibrate heater function with 230 degrees as the target value, and it will just run a cycle of heating and cooling to figure out what are the PID parameters. And once it's done, we just do the save config and we are ready to rock. Here you can see my final setup with the spool mounted above the printer and a very short Bowden tube, and that's exactly what I wanted. And here's a test print with TPU 95 softness, I believe, and so it came out pretty well. I liked it a lot. And here is the final product, super soft, nicely printed, no issues. So thanks again MicroSwiss for providing this extruder, and please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell button. Thank you and happy printing.